Good evening and welcome to the Bhagavatam. We continue with the Uddhava Gita, the teachings of Krishna to Uddhava, his best friend in Dwarka. This is before Krishna leaves this world, and he wants to leave us with some really powerful messages. So we've been doing this for the last few episodes, and I hope you've been following along. But now Krishna is going to talk about the symptoms of conditioned and liberated living entities. In other words, what are the symptoms by which we can recognize an enlightened being? A lot of people today pose as gurus. People are hungry for knowledge. They want someone who they can follow, who will instruct them, who will guide them, who will teach them. And Krishna even says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena. So if you want vidya, vidhi, tad vidhi pranipat, then you must surrender to a guru, right? And ask the person questions and be willing to render service. And the self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So these words are really important. The self-realized soul. The one who has realized, doesn't just intellectually know, doesn't have a bunch just of verses and philosophies memorized, or is a great speaker, an orator, or someone who's charismatic. No, that's not the criteria. A self-realized soul. What is a self-realized soul? That we're going to find out today. How do you recognize such a person? That's an extremely important thing to be aware of, because, there are all kinds of people with all kinds of designations and all kinds of costumes and outfits and names and so on and so forth. And how do you know what one from the other? This is the definitive test, and you're going to learn about it today. So Krishna and Uddhava are talking, and they've been discussing the three modes of material nature, which are basically the forces that act upon us living beings and that influence our consciousness. So these modes of material nature, as we've discussed earlier, are basically energies that act upon us. And they act upon us based upon our desires, based upon our actions, and based upon our karma. Right? So with all of that, then material nature facilitates where we're at. So if I desire to do nothing, I'm completely unmotivated, I'm just burnt out, then I'm going to the mode of ignorance. And material nature then provides the energy for me to go deeply into that place. Go deep into the depths of it if you want. If I have great ambitions and desires and things that I want, then material nature facilitates that by giving me mode of passion, rajas. And with that mode of passion, I go about doing things, one after the other, my thoughts, my actions, everything is just on a loop. Then if I have the mode of goodness, I want peace. I want to be able to understand who I am. I want to understand who is God. And then you need the mode of goodness. And then there are certain foods that support that. There are certain habits that support it. We have discussed it in the past, so I won't go over it again today. All right, so Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's the Supreme Being, the Supreme Lord, God, if you want to use the common term, he says to his dear friend Uddhava, due to the influence of the material modes of nature which are under my control, so those modes of nature which control us are under the control of Krishna. He himself is beyond the modes of nature, but he is in charge of them. Not that he's sitting there and deliberately moving us around like a puppet on a string. As I said earlier, our desire, our karma, and our ongoing actions are what generates or attracts that particular energy, which then facilitates what we want. So, due to the influence of the material modes of nature which are under my control, the living entity, that's us, is sometimes designated as conditioned and sometimes as liberated. So you can call someone either conditioned or liberated. Now, there's a very interesting point he brings up here. He says, in fact, however, the soul is the real me. I am not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the things I own or my life story. I'm the soul. that possesses the body, that possesses the mind, that possesses whatever I have in life. That soul is the life force energy within each of us. So the soul is never really conditioned or liberated. This is such a powerful thought. That which we are is never either conditioned or liberated. Think about it. That soul that we are is a part of God. And just as God is never conditioned, is never liberated or conditioned, is never born, doesn't die, doesn't come under the illusion of the world, similarly, the soul never really comes under the it's under the influence of, because it's attached to this mind-body organism, and therefore it is affected by, but as such, it is never really conditioned at all. So he says, and since I am the supreme lord of Maya, means he is in charge of Maya. Maya is the illusory energy which weaves the illusions around us, the illusions of this world, the illusions that I am this, that I am my thoughts, I am my emotions, I am my body, I am my possessions. All these illusions are woven by Maya, the illusory energy. So he says that since I am the supreme lord of Maya, which is the cause of the modes of nature, so you see now there's Krishna, there's Maya, there's the modes of nature. So he says, since I am the supreme lord of Maya, which is the cause of the modes of nature, I also am never to be considered liberated or in bondage. So the purport, they explain this further. He says, because there is ultimately no permanent connection between the living entity and matter. There is no permanent connection between us, the living entity, and matter, meaning us and this body. Since there is no, or this world for that matter, since there is no permanent connection, no permanent link between the soul and the body, because after all, you die, you leave this body behind, you take on another body. There's no permanent link with this. So because there is no permanent link between the living entity, the soul, and matter, there is also no actual liberation. The living entity, being eternally transcendental, is eternally liberated. You, my dear friend, are an eternally liberated, enlightened being. But you don't know it. You're not aware of it. Because the veil of Maya, the veil of the illusion or the matrix, is so strong upon us that we don't experience that which we are. You would think that that which we are should be the most obvious thing, right? But it's not. It's completely covered by the modes of nature, by the illusions of Maya. And so we just think, oh, I'm here to enjoy, but you're not aware of, well, what does my soul need? What is its nature? What does it require? What will make it happy? So I'm out trying to get everything that will satisfy the body, that will satisfy my mind, that will satisfy my desires. But all that is getting me more and more and more trapped in this world, suffering life after life. So then it explains that although the individual soul, that's us, is never actually bound to matter, he suffers the reactions of material nature because of false identification. Identification with, false identification with what? With the body, with the mind, with the thoughts, with the emotions, with the ego. That, well, we call the mind, intelligence, and ego the psychological body. Okay? And then there is the physical body. So I false identification with both the physical and the psychological body. That causes us to become bound up. So what is the key word? Identification. We identify with. And this identification causes us to be bound to the body, to the mind, to the emotions, to the thoughts, to all of that. So because of false identification, the term bound up may be used to indicate the nature of a living entity's experience with material energy. Therefore, the terms bondage and liberation are acceptable if one understands that such terms only refer to temporary situations created by illusion and do not refer to the ultimate nature of the living entity. On the other hand, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is eternally the supreme transcendental entity, and he can never be bound by illusion. It is the duty of his illusory potency, Maya, or illusion, to attract the living entities to ignorance by creating the false impression of a blissful existence separate from Krishna. So why would Maya do that? Why would Krishna's energy, Maya, be doing that? To give us the option, to give us the freedom, to give us the free will, that we can reject God or we can love God. You see, love can never be forced. You can never force someone to love you. So you must be given the freedom to not love. You must be given the freedom to reject. You must be given the freedom to deny even the existence of God. And yet you are sustained despite all that. Despite your, even sometimes your hate in some cases, despite your anger, despite your denial of his existence, he still sustains you. It is he who makes it possible for your lungs to breathe, for your legs to walk, for the prana, the life energy within you to move and allow you to even function, for the organs to actually function. They would not function if it were not for God. The sun would not shine, the moon would not be there, the planets would not rotate in space, nothing would work. Since he, Krishna, is the supreme absolute controller of Maya, there is no possibility that Maya could have any influence over him. Thus the term bandhanam or bondage cannot be applied to the eternally blissful and omniscient personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Just as a dream is merely a creation of one's intelligence, it has no actual substance. Similarly, material lamentation, illusion, happiness, and distress, and the acceptance of the material body under the influence of Maya are all creations of my illusory energy. In other words, material existence has no essential reality. This material world has no essential or no absolute reality. It is real, but it is only temporarily real. So in the purport it is explained, one should not misunderstand the example of the dream to mean that the material world has no real existence. Material world is the manifestation of Krishna's external potency. So I'll get you familiar with these terms. The material world is the external potency of God. The spiritual world, there's an entire world beyond this material world, and that is called the spiritual world, and that is part of his internal potency. The living entity, us, we are part of the marginal potency. Marginal because we have a choice. We have a choice to be part of the external energy, the material world, or to be part of the internal energy, the spiritual world. And that can be done right here, right now. It's not that you have to go and die and go to heaven and then that'll be possible. No. You can experience the spiritual world right here, right now. And that happens by processes of meditation, of devotional service, of bhakti, and ultimately by the grace of Krishna himself. Right? When he sees that we are very sincere and really keen to be able to get close to him, then he gives the ability for us to be able to get out of this trap or this illusion that we're stuck in. So the material world is the manifestation of Krishna's external potency, just as the spiritual world is the manifestation of his internal potency. Just in case you need a reminder of that. Although material objects are subject to transformation and thus have no permanent existence, the material energy is real because it comes from the supreme reality. So some people say, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, that the God, the divine, the light, the supreme is eternal and is therefore the truth, and that which is this world is temporary and therefore false. Jagan Mithya. Mithya means false. But that is not actually correct. The world is real in that it appears so very real to us, right? You can't deny that. But it has no permanent existence. So the Vedas have a very interesting way of defining that which is real in an absolute sense. Real means that which is eternal. And that which is temporary is considered illusory. So that that which is real is eternal, right? And that which is temporary is considered an illusion. Means it appears to be real for some time and then it goes back, like a tree or a grass or anything else, right? It has a shape for a while, a flower, and then it goes back into the earth. This body appears to be real for a while and then goes back again into the earth. So they're like waves rising and falling, and have no permanent existence. Now, matter itself, on the other hand, does have permanent existence. It is eternal because it is the energy of God, and therefore it cannot be called false, because in fact it is eternal. Matter is eternal. The shapes that it takes are not. That's the big difference. So material objects are subject to transformation and thus have no permanent existence. The material energy is real because it comes from the supreme reality, Sri Krishna. See, it comes from him and therefore it is also eternal. It is only our false acceptance of the material body as the factual self and our foolish dream that the material world is meant for our pleasure that has no real existence. So our illusions of who we are and what this world is, that has no real existence. These are merely mental concoctions. One should cleanse oneself of material designations and wake up to the all-pervading reality. And what is all-pervading? All-pervading means that which is everywhere, that which is in everything, that which is in everyone. Right? What is that all-pervading reality? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Through his energy, he is present in every atom of the creation. And it is because of that that matter can be said to be eternal. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. He's saying the same thing 5,000 years ago that Einstein taught. Only maybe, I don't know, it's been 50 years, 100 years ago that Einstein was teaching this, right? That matter cannot be created or destroyed. That's a fact. But this is coming from the Vedas. They knew this stuff all along. They knew all the stuff about quantum physics and what have you, and it's all in the Bhagavatam and the Gita. You'll see it woven right in there. It continues, both knowledge and ignorance are products of illusion and are expansions of my potency. Both knowledge and ignorance are beginningless and perpetually award liberation and bondage to the embodied living beings. So both knowledge and ignorance are beginningless. That's so interesting, isn't it? But let's understand a little further. The living entity called Jiva, so that's us, Jiva Atma. We are the living entity, Jiva Atma. Atma means soul, and Jiva is the living soul. The Jiva Atma is part and parcel of me, Krishna says, but due to ignorance, he has been suffering in material bondage since time immemorial. By knowledge, however, he can be liberated. Now, this verse is also echoed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text number 5. Besides this inferior nature, there is a superior energy of mind consisting of all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So he says, thus in the same material body, we find opposing characteristics such as great happiness and great misery. That is because both the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally liberated, as well as the conditioned soul, are within the body. Listen carefully here. Both the Supreme Godhead, God, and the soul are within the body. So it's not just the soul that's within you. God is also within you. So on one hand, I said he is in every atom of the creation. But now he is there as the Paramatma, the super soul, the great soul, within every one of us, within every being. He is there as the witness. So there's a beautiful example given here, and I'd like you to take a look at that. By chance, so he begins by telling a little tiny story here. Two birds have made a nest together in the same tree. Right? There's two birds sitting on a tree. Two birds are friends and are of a similar nature. One of them, however, is eating the fruits of the tree, whereas the other, who does not eat the fruits, is in a superior position due to his potency. The bird who does not eat the fruits of the tree is the supreme personality of Godhead, Paramatma, who is by his omniscience perfectly understands his own position and that of the conditioned living entity, represented by the eating bird. That living entity, on the other hand, does not understand himself or the Supreme Lord. He is covered by ignorance and thus called eternally conditioned. Whereas the personality of Godhead, being full of perfect knowledge, is eternally liberated. So I hope you're understanding that within us lie both the soul, Atma, Jiva Atma, and the Param Atma. We are infinitesimal, that is to say, infinitely small, and he is the infinite. But still, he comes as a very tiny representation within us, witnessing everything that is going on and allowing for whatever it is that we desire. He is making it possible. So there are three aspects of God mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says one is Brahman, which is his energy, which is spread throughout the universe in every atom of the creation. Then there is the Param Atma, the super soul, that is within each of us, along with the soul as the witness. And then there is Bhagavan, the supreme being, where he exists as a being. So that's important to understand. And much of the Bhagavatam has been dedicated to the different incarnations or avatars of that supreme being, ending with the final incarnation of Krishna, who appeared 5,000 years ago. So in the purport it is said, the Supreme Lord is uninterested in the bitter fruits of material activities. He's just witnessing us going through our stuff, witnessing us, waiting for us. The Supreme Lord is uninterested. So the second bird that is witnessing, he's uninterested in the bitter fruits of material activities. Notice how it says the bitter fruits of material activities. Whereas the ordinary conditioned soul, us, busily consumes such bitter fruits, thinking them to be sweet. Right? We think all the stuff of this world, that new car, that lovely house, that wonderful partner, we think it to be so pleasurable and so wonderful until it's not. And then we feel cheated. And then we feel betrayed and let down and disappointed and frustrated and resentful. And then we think maybe I should get another house, another car, another girlfriend, another wife, and more children. Maybe then I'll be happy. But it doesn't quite seem to happen, does it? We have to find that happiness within ourselves. It will not be found outside. It will not be found in someone. It will not be found through something. So the living entity foolishly thinks material things will bring him pleasure, but ultimately the fruit of all material endeavor is death. Sounds like a really harsh thing to say, but it's the fact. That's the only thing that's guaranteed. The word sakhayo, or two friends, is also significant. Our real friend is Krishna, who is situated within our heart. Only he knows our actual needs, and only he can give us real happiness. Krishna is so kind that he patiently sits in the heart, trying to guide us back home, back to Godhead, back to his eternal abode, back to the spiritual sky, back to his home. He's there guiding us, giving us opportunities, trying to speak to us. But we don't listen. We only listen to our mind that is loud and noisy and berating us, telling us all kinds of things, do this, do that, keeping us all the time wrapped up around its finger. And he's that quiet voice, that gentle whisper, trying to guide us, patiently sitting in our heart. Certainly no material friend would remain with his foolish companion for millions of years especially if his companion were to ignore him or even curse him. But Krishna is such a faithful, loving friend that he accompanies even the most demoniac living entity. So even the most demoniac person, he is there sitting in their heart, trying to guide them back. That's amazing, isn't it? And he is also present in the heart of every insect, every animal, every pig, every dog, every cat, every living entity. That is because Krishna sees every living entity as part of himself. The conditioned soul should give up tasting the bitter fruits of the tree of material existence and turn to his dearmost friend Krishna, who is sitting within his heart. There is no pleasure equal to or greater than the pleasure of pure devotional service or bhakti or love of Krishna. And by tasting the fruit of love of Krishna, the liberated living entity enters the ocean of happiness. One who is enlightened in self-realization, although living within the material body. So up till now we were discussing the qualities of the conditioned soul. Now we're going on to the enlightened being. So one who is enlightened in self-realization, although living within the material body, right, sees himself as transcendental to the body. Meaning, transcendental means that which transcends. So that which is beyond, that which is more than, right? So the soul is transcendental to the body. So he sees himself as the soul. He doesn't see himself as the body. His body, he's got a body, he's in a body, but he recognizes it to be no different than you might think of your car. You have a car, but you don't say, this car is me. This is my car, but this is not me. We say, this is me. and that's the illusion. That's the mistake we all make. So he sees himself as transcendental to the body, just as one who has arisen from a dream gives up identification with the dream body. So this means that that person who is enlightened is now awake. We are in the dream, identifying with this dream body. A foolish person, however, although not identical with his material body, but transcendental to it. So we are the foolish person. We are not identical with this material body. We are transcendental to it, but we think ourselves to be situated in the body, just as one who is dreaming sees himself situated in an imaginary body. An enlightened person who is free from the contamination of material desire does not consider himself to be the performer of bodily activities. Rather, he knows that in all such activities, it is only the senses, which are born of the modes of nature, that are contacting sense objects, born of the same modes of nature. So then what would you conclude? Am I really doing anything? Krishna says no. Kartaham iti manyate. This is the illusion of the living entity. He thinks that I am the doer. But in fact, the living entity does nothing at all. The living entity being the soul. He's simply there, and he has his desires. And those desires that he's trying to play out, he's sending messages to the mind, to the ego, to the intelligence. Hey, I want love. I want happiness. And then the mind, intelligence, and ego, and the body and the senses are going out to look. Where is love? Where is love? Oh, this one looks pretty, looks beautiful, look great, look rich, whatever. And I will find love here. And then we find ourselves under delusion. It doesn't quite happen the way we want. Because what we want is eternal love. We don't want just some love that is a honeymoon period for a few months and then, or a year or two, and then we're back. We're now looking at each other's faults and, criticizing and fighting and judging. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for eternal love. We're looking for love that never dies. Love that cannot be taken away. And yet in material relationships, love is taken away. Love does die. People do cheat, do leave, do die. And then what? We're disappointed, we're heartbroken. We get bitter, we armor up. Right? So the person understands that it is only the senses which are born of the modes of nature, and that are contacting the sense objects, which are also born of the modes of nature. So everything in this world is born of the modes of nature. We are simply desiring, and then things are happening. The more intense your desire, so that's what people talk about when they talk about manifesting. They're talking about desire. When you desire something in such a focused, completely determined, focused, without any shadow of doubt way, then it's like a meditation. And when it is a meditation like that, you will get what you desire. Doesn't mean it'll be good for you. Doesn't mean it will give you what you're seeking. Right? The soul is sending the message, I want abundance. I want to feel like I'm abundant. But we think that abundance will come through money, so we go chasing money. The mind is not able to interpret what the soul wants. The mind is not able to understand the soul's real need because you have never really connected with your soul, because you've never really understood its nature, nor have you ever understood its actual need. And until you do, you'll keep chasing all kinds of things in this world, never quite feeling fulfilled, never quite satisfied, never quite content, because the real need of who you are is not being met. The Bhagavatam continues, an unintelligent person situated within the body, created by his previous karmic activities, thinks, I am the performer of action. Right? I said, kartaham iti manyate. I think I am the doer. I am the performer of action. Bewildered by false ego. The real ego is the identification that we are the soul. But the false ego is the identification with matter, with this body, with the things we have, and so on. So bewildered by false ego, such a foolish person is therefore bound up in karmic activities, which are in fact carried out by the modes of nature. An enlightened person, fixed in detachment, engages his body in lying down, sitting, walking, bathing, seeing, touching, smelling, eating, hearing, and so on, but is never entangled by such activities. Right? Why? Because that person is detached. What does it mean to be detached? It means to not be identified with. Right? Not identified with this body. Not identified with this world. That's it. That's as simple as that. So that the enlightened person is doing the same things. He's sitting, walking, bathing, seeing, touching, smelling, eating. But he's never entangled by such activities. Indeed, remaining as a witness to all bodily functions, he merely engages his bodily senses with their objects, but does not become entangled like an unintelligent person. So what is the key thing? He's witness to all bodily functions. Witness. This is the key thing. When you can become the witness to your bodily functions, it's like you're watching yourself. You're seeing this robot that you're living in, this robotic or organic organism that you're living in. When you're seeing it, what it's doing, when you're seeing your mind, what it's doing, but you're not identified with your mind, when you're seeing your emotions, what they're doing, but you're not identified with them, then you have come to that place where you have woken up. And from there begins the journey to enlightenment. And he gives a lovely example now. He says, although the sky or space is the resting place of everything, so right, everything is within the sky, within space, yet the sky does not mix with anything, nor is it entangled. Similarly, the sun is not at all attached to the water in which it is reflected, within innumerable reservoirs and oceans and lakes. So the sun is not attached to the water in which it is reflected. What a great example. The sky does not mix with anything, nor is it entangled. The sun is not attached to the water in which it is reflected. And the mighty wind blowing everywhere is not affected by the innumerable aromas and atmospheres through which it passes. So the wind might pass through some place that is stinking, but in a little while, that smell is left behind. It doesn't get attached and carried around forever. Similarly, it might go through a rose garden or some place that smells wonderfully, and you'll smell that fragrance for a little space or a little distance, and then it'll move on and come back to its normal state. So in the same way, a self-realized soul is completely detached from the material body and the material world around it. He is like a person who has awakened and arisen from a dream. With expert vision sharpened by detachment, the self-realized soul cuts all doubts to pieces through knowledge of the self and completely withdraws his consciousness from the expansion of material variety. This material variety is what gets us, right? And advertisers know this. They're always coming up with new stuff. Companies know this. They're coming up with the new model, with new products, with new updates. And with that, they seduce us. And when they seduce us, we want the next thing, the next best, whatever it is that they're coming out with. This material variety is what gets us. It gets us hooked. And constantly, there's something new. Constantly, there's something more. But this need for variety comes from the soul. The soul seeks variety. The soul seeks expansion. The soul seeks abundance. The soul seeks happiness. It's just not able to get it here. You keep trying the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and it doesn't quite do it. That's why you're looking for the next one now. But the soul is seeking variety. Keep in mind, the essence of what you're seeking is true. It's just where you're seeking it that is false. Now, I don't just mean you, I mean me as well. It's okay, I'm not trying to put myself above that. But yes, where we're seeking it is false. It's not available here. It's like going to a store, a grocery store, and looking for, let's say, something like a car. I want to buy a car, but I'm going to a grocery store. Well, they don't sell cars at grocery stores, right? And they don't sell groceries in car stores, in car dealers or whatever, right? So you're going to the wrong place. You're looking in the wrong place for what you're wanting. Variety exists in the spiritual world. Some people just want to merge and become all oneness, and they just want to be no variety. But actually the longing is for variety. And if you were to land up in a place that had no variety, you'd be bored out of your mind, and you'd want to get out of there as soon as possible. You'd be like, what the hell? How did I think this was where it's at? And you'd come right back to this world. But the spiritual world with Krishna is full of variety. Spiritual variety, which is not subject to the temporary ups and downs of this world. There, everything is eternal. Everything. There is a song. There is every step is a dance, and every word is a song. It's that kind of reality. So that's the eternal reality, which is full of variety, full of variegatedness. And that's what we're longing for. It's full of love. It's full of joy. It's full of celebration. It's full of all kinds of ever-expanding pleasure. Here, we get pleasure, but for a little while. Then we're cheated. It dies away. We can only have so much pleasure. You can only eat so much. You can only have so much sex. You can only enjoy so much ice cream. You cannot keep on and on and on at it. But the spiritual world, unlimited. Because you're not a physical being anymore. And so as a spiritual being, well, all the variety you need is there, and all the enjoyment and all the pleasure is there in its full, unlimited measure. With Krishna, that's the main difference. Here we're trying to be separate from God and enjoy. That doesn't work. You've tried it. You've tried it this lifetime. You've tried it in other lifetimes. You've been trying it for millions of lifetimes, and it hasn't worked. But in the spiritual world, everything we're seeking works. Because everything is meant to be enjoyed with Krishna, with God. Bhagavatam continues, a person is considered to be completely liberated from the gross and subtle material bodies. So when I said gross body means the physical body and subtle means the psychological body. So the person is completely liberated from the gross and subtle, or the physical and psychological bodies, when all the functions of his vital energy, or prana, senses, mind, and intelligence are performed without material desire. Such a person, although situated within the body, is not entangled. So this is a very important word here, material desire. See, desire is very natural for all of us. But just like everything I've been talking about, the things that are common to every living being, those arise from the soul. See, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of nationality or gender or any other factor that is related to the body, regardless of all of these factors, every one of us wants certain things. Among those are love and happiness and peace and security and safety and desire. Desire is therefore a universal thing, just like the other things I talked about. Desire is universal. And because it is universal, it is the nature of the soul. And because it is the nature of the soul, that soul cannot be satisfied by anything of matter, just as a fish cannot be satisfied by anything that is on land. The things on the land might be nice for you and me, but they're not going to be satisfying for a fish, because a fish needs water. Similarly, the soul needs spiritual things. It will never be satisfied by material things. The body might get a little satisfaction, a little enjoyment, and a little pleasure, but not the soul. You will never be satisfied. You, the real being, will never be satisfied. So then he gives the example. Sometimes, for no apparent reason, one's body is attacked by cruel people or violent animals. At other times and in other places, one will suddenly be offered great respect or worship. One who becomes neither angry when attacked nor satisfied when worshipped is actually intelligent. So this is another symptom of an enlightened being. One who becomes neither angry when attacked nor satisfied when worshipped is actually intelligent. In the purport, it is said, if one does not become angry when attacked for no apparent reason, so you could be, attacked by people for no apparent reason. It happens on the internet all the time. You write down something and boom, you have a whole bunch of people criticizing you, attacking you, telling you what have you written, what is this? And we take great offense. We get tremendously hurt. If one does not become angry when attacked for no apparent reason, and if one does not become enlivened when glorified, praised, or worshipped, then one has passed the test of self-realization and is considered fixed in spiritual intelligence. A saintly sage sees with equal vision and therefore is not affected by that which is materially good or bad. Indeed, he observes others performing good and bad work and speaking properly and improperly, but the sage does not praise or criticize anyone. So he sees that people are doing certain things that are good or bad, but he doesn't praise or criticize them. He does not judge them, nor does he praise them. Why? Because he is living in a different dimension. We live in the dimension of duality. Ichha dvesha samudvena dvanda mohena bharata. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the word dvanda means duality. And what does this duality consist of? Ichha and dvesha. These two things, desire and hate. I like this, I don't like this. I agree with this, I disagree with this. That forms the duality. And where does that duality get created? It gets created right here in our mind. Our mind is constantly thinking in these two terms: positive, negative, right, wrong, good, bad. So one who sees the good and bad work of others and their actions, but does not label them as that, does not praise them or criticize them, such a person is a self-realized soul. Right? Because this person is not living in duality, they're living in the realm of non-duality. Advai Gyan. They have Advai. Advai means no duality, non-dual wisdom. They have non-dual wisdom. So they're able to see things very objectively. I see a thing, yes, I see someone is hurting someone or someone is speaking badly to someone. I see the action. I neither praise nor criticize them. You may want to question them. Hey, do you really think that's working? Do you think that's really beneficial for you or the other person? They may question them, But they don't judge them. They don't put them down. They don't criticize them. That's what we do who live in duality. We think in terms of dualistic concepts. An enlightened or self-realized person doesn't. That is the difference. By the way, if you have any questions on this, please feel free to ask. I'll be glad to answer your comments or your questions at any time. For the purpose of maintaining his body, a liberated being should not act, speak, or contemplate in terms of material good or bad. Rather, he should be detached in all material circumstances. And taking pleasure in self-realization, he should wander about engaged in this liberated lifestyle, appearing like a foolish, or in the politically correct words, intellectually disabled person to outsiders. So let me go over that for you. So a liberated person should not act, speak, or contemplate in terms of material good and bad. Should not behave in terms of material ideas of good and bad. Rather, you should be detached in all material circumstances, taking pleasure in self-realization. The real pleasure is here within yourself. The real joy, the real bliss, because that is the nature of the soul. Sat Chit Ananda. It is Ananda. Ananda, that bliss we're seeking, is right here, not outside. No amount of outer stuff will give us that pleasure that we'll get from inside. So he's taking pleasure in self-realization. And then because he's taking pleasure in self-realization, he should wander about, go everywhere, engaged in this liberated lifestyle, appearing like a foolish person to outsiders. We use that term, intellectually disabled. Apparently that's the proper way to say it these days, but appearing like a foolish person. See, a person who is truly wise has no problem being foolish. A person who is truly foolish always wants to act wise, always wants to act so smart, like they know it all. But those know-it-alls, they're actually foolish. And the liberated person prefers to be foolish until they're questioned, until the right time. They're patient. And when the right time comes, then they'll speak up. They have plenty to say, but only to one who's receptive, only to one who's willing to understand, only the one who's seeking. If through meticulous study one becomes expert in reading Vedic literature, so the Vedas were written 5,000 years ago, they've been around and contain, that was when they were written, they were around for thousands of years before that. They consist of hundreds of books, tremendous wisdom. So even if you thoroughly, meticulously study all the Vedas, but you make no endeavor to fix your mind on the Supreme, then one's endeavor is certainly like that of a person who works very hard to take care of a cow that gives no milk. In other words, the fruit of one's laborious study of Vedic knowledge will simply be labor itself. There will be no other tangible result. So what is the result of, what is this analogy that taking care of a cow that gives no milk? A cow usually gives milk, but there's a lot of work to take care of a cow. You've got to be able to make sure it has proper grass to eat, that that grass does not have any kind of poison, ivy, or other things around that it might affect it, that there are no other insects or bugs or other kinds of things that may attack the cow. It might need a vet from time to time. It's going to need food to eat. You got to take care of it, right? It's health. Now, after all that, if it doesn't produce any milk, well, then this cow is... And in the Vedic culture, we don't kill the animals. We don't kill the cow. Never. Absolutely not. So now what? You're just going to have this cow that you do all this work for that doesn't give you anything. So, of course, a good farmer, a noble farmer, will still take care of that cow, will not just abandon it, even though it's producing no milk. But the analogy is being given that you may study all the Vedic literature, but if it does not culminate in one's fixing one's mind on the Supreme Being, then that endeavor is useless. It will just be labor. Shrama eva hi kevalam. It will just be hard work for nothing. That person is certainly most miserable who takes care of a cow that gives no milk, has an unchaste wife or husband, cheater, husband, wife, in today's terminology, a body that is totally dependent on others. So like when you're sick and you're totally dependent on others and like for the rest of your life. Or you have children or wealth that is not utilized for the right purpose. So a person is certainly most miserable who has a cow that gives no milk, who has a partner who is unfaithful, or a body that is totally dependent on others, or children or wealth that are not properly utilized for the right purpose. Similarly, one who studies Vedic knowledge, devoid of my glories, Krishna is speaking this, is also most miserable. In the purport, Srila Jiva Goswami comments that the spiritual vibration of the Vedas is meant to bring one to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Many processes for achieving the supreme truth are recommended in the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, but because of their innumerable and seemingly contradictory explanations, commentaries, and injunctions, one cannot achieve the absolute truth merely by reading such literature. If, however, one understands Sri Krishna to be the ultimate cause of all causes and reads the Upanishads and other Vedic literature as glorification of the Supreme Lord, then one can actually become fixed at Krishna's lotus feet. You see, this happened to Vyas, the author of all the Vedas. He realized that although he had written hundreds of books and thousands of pages and verses, he was dissatisfied. And that's when his guru Narad came to him and said, "You've missed out the most important thing, and that is the glorification of the Supreme Lord and the process by which to attain his loving devotion. That's the most important purpose of life, not just how to have a better body, not to do good karma, not just how to do rituals so that you can better your life situation. Everybody wants that, sure. Everybody wants to better their life situation, make more money, have a nice partner, all those things. Yes, the people want those from the Vedas. The Vedas tell you how to do all that. But he says the real purpose of all of the Vedas is not that. You're just getting people more and more stuck into the karmic cycle. The real purpose is liberation, and the real purpose of liberation is to come to the loving service of the Supreme Godhead, Sri Krishna. So Krishna says, "Indeed, I create, maintain, and annihilate the entire material manifestation. Any so-called knowledge that does not recognize the word is Leela avatar, my pastime incarnations, is simply barren and is not acceptable to those who are actually intelligent. Coming to this conclusion of knowledge, one should give up the false conception of material existence. One should give up the false conception of material variety that one imposes upon the soul and thus sees one's material existence." So what is this? One should give up the false conception of material variety that one imposes upon the soul. This is the most important idea. One should give up the false conception of material variety. We are thinking through all these varied activities and endeavors and possessions and enjoyments that we will be happy. And we have imposed that upon the soul. And we're not happy. So one should give up this false conception that the material world will make me happy and seize one's material existence. So does that mean one should die? Does that mean that one should just go live in a forest? No. To seize your material existence does not mean that. You heard earlier where he's saying the enlightened being, the liberated being, does everything that you do. Everything. Might even be in a job or a business or in a marriage or in a relationship. Does everything you do, but is not identified with the body, is not identified with the thoughts, with the emotions, or the possessions. And on top of that, the mind should be, so where should the mind be? And if it's not on these things, it's not identified, you're able to be a witness of all these activities that your body and mind and everything is doing. Where should the mind be then? He says the answer right here. The mind should be fixed on me. How? Since I am all-pervading, since he is all-pervading, since he is everywhere, Krishna is everywhere, in everything, everywhere you look, you can fix your mind on him. Purport in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 19, it is said, "Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadyate vasudevi sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha." So a Mahatma means a great soul. And Durlabh means rare, and Sudurlabh means extremely rare. So who is this great soul who is extremely rare? He says, it is that person who after many, many births, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, at the end of many, many births, that jnani, that knowledgeable, intelligent person, Mam Prapadyate, surrenders unto me. Why? He realizes that Vasudeva Sarvam iti, that Vasudev, Krishna, is Sarvam, is everything. And therefore he surrenders to Krishna. He says that he realizes that nothing, including my body, my mind, my nothing can work without him. He is what is causing everything in this world to function. Then the same thing is said in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says, Janmadi asya yataha. The Supreme Lord is the source of everything. Sarva karana karanam. Ishvara parama Krishna Satchidananda vigraha. Anadir adir govinda sarva karana karanam. So in the Brahma Samhita it is also said he is sarva karana karanam, the cause of all causes. So something might be the cause, but he is the cause of that cause. He creates, maintains, and annihilates everything. Everything is ultimately an expansion of Krishna, and therefore really, there is really no other object of meditation besides Krishna. So Krishna continues, my dear Uddhava, if you are not able to free your mind from all material disturbance and thus absorb it completely on the spiritual platform, then perform all your activities as an offering to me without trying to enjoy the fruits. The same thing was said in the Bhagavad Gita, where he said, Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotion unto me. So what is this? These are actually very clear symptoms. One who is transcendently situated realizes the Supreme Brahman, realizes the Supreme Godhead. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living. See, every living entity is the same, equally disposed to every living entity. He's not favoring one entity and looking down on another. No. Equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotion unto me. So, in the earlier part, it had said something also very important, that if you're not able to completely absorb yourself in this way on God, on Krishna, then perform all your activities as an offering to me. Like, you have to act, you got to work, you got to go to, your job, your business, or whatever it is, or you're taking care of your home, or you're taking care of your kids or your babies, whatever. Do whatever you're doing as an offering to Krishna. Krishna, this is your child. I'm taking care of this baby. This is your home. I'm taking care of this home. This is your wife, husband, family. I'm taking care of them. They are your people. I'm taking care of them. And in that way, you transform the whole attitude, it's his. So he will take care. And you don't have the anxiety or the stress anymore. It's his house. So you'll still do your work. You'll still do what has to be done, but you will not be stressed about it. And you will do it as an offering of love to Krishna. That's the beauty. Narrations of my pastimes, Krishna is saying, narrations of my pastimes and qualities are all auspicious. You know what is auspicious? We talk of fortunate, good luck, all those things. The ultimate good luck, the ultimate good fortune is to hear the narrations and the pastimes and qualities of Sri Krishna, the all-powerful, the all-beautiful, the all-wonderful Krishna. And these narrations of his pastimes and qualities, which we are reading from the Bhagavatam, they purify the entire universe. A faithful person who constantly hears, glorifies, and remembers such transcendental activities, who through dramatic performances, relives my pastimes, beginning with my appearance, and who takes full shelter of me, dedicating his religious, sensual, and occupational activities for my satisfaction, certainly obtains unflinching devotion to me. Eternal personality of Godhead. So what is it one has to do? It's very simple. First, to hear, glorify, and remember him. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And that can be through enacting plays, watching shows about him, meditating on his appearance, taking full shelter of him. But most importantly, dedicating all your religious activities, all your sensual activities even, and your occupational activities, all for his satisfaction. Such a person attains unflinching devotion. What does unflinching mean? Which doesn't waver. You're no longer like sometimes here, sometimes there. No. Unflinching devotion to me, the Supreme Eternal Personality of Godhead. One who has obtained pure devotional service by association with my devotees always engages in worshipping me. Thus he very easily comes to my abode. See, Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita as well. By engaging in this process, you will come to my abode, my eternal abode. Now, Uddhava asks, my dear Prabhu, my dear Master, what type of person do you consider to be a true devotee? And what type of devotional service or bhakti yoga, is approved by great devotees as worthy of being offered to you? My dear ruler of the Devas are the demigods, the universal controllers. O Lord of Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha is the spiritual world, and Almighty God of the universe, I am your devotee, and because I love you, I have no other shelter than you. Therefore, please explain this to me. As the absolute truth, you are transcendental to material nature, and like the sky, you are never entangled in any way, still being controlled by your devotee's love. Being controlled by your devotee's love. You accept many different forms, incarnating according to your devotee's desires. So Krishna actually comes. On one hand, he comes to annihilate the miscreants, the troublemakers, the asuras, the demonic people who are creating trouble and havoc on earth. But mostly he comes to give pleasure to his devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam. Right? He comes for the sadhu, for the saintly persons, for his devotees who are still here and who are serving him. But he comes to give them pleasure. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam. He comes to destroy the miscreants, but mostly to give pleasure to his devotees. That's what he was doing when he was here, giving so much pleasure to all his loved ones, to his mother, to his friends, to his girlfriends, to everybody, even to the trees and the deer and the peacocks and the cows and all of them. He was giving them so much happiness and pleasure that even a moment they could not be away from him. So Krishna now replies. He says, a saintly person is merciful and never injures others. Very, very important. He's merciful and never injures. So that injury could be by words. That injury could be by actions. In other words, he doesn't kill any animals to eat them. He does not hurt any person. All living entities. He's merciful to all of them. Even if others are aggressive, he is tolerant and forgiving towards all living entities. So even if you abuse him, even if you're aggressive towards him, he is tolerant and forgiving towards all living entities. His strength and meaning in life come from the truth itself. He is free from all envy and jealousy, and his mind is equal in material happiness and distress. Wouldn't you like to be like this? I certainly would. I think it'd be amazing. I think this is the calling for all of us, to be equal in happiness and distress, to be free of envy and jealousy, to find meaning and purpose from truth, to find strength in truth. Krishna is spoken of in the beginning of the Bhagavatam as Param Satyam Dhimahi. I meditate upon Sri Krishna because he is Param Satyam, the absolute truth, the eternal truth, the unending, unchanging truth. unlike this world, which is all full of relative truth. And then even if others are aggressive, he is tolerant and forgiving towards all living entities. Yes, that would be a great quality to have. So his behavior, see, he dedicates his time to work. So the person who has all these qualities dedicates his time to work for the welfare of all others. His intelligence is never bewildered by material desires, and he has controlled his senses. His behavior is always pleasing, never harsh, and always exemplary, and he is free from possessiveness. He never endeavors in ordinary worldly activities, and he strictly controls his eating. He therefore always remains peaceful and steady. A saintly person is thoughtful and accepts me, Krishna, as his only shelter. Mad Ashraya. Such a person is very cautious in the execution of his duties and is never subject to superficial transformations because he is steady and noble. Even in a distressing situation, he has conquered over the 6 material qualities, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. Conquered over these. He is free from all desire for prestige and honor and respect, and offers honor to others. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that. Trinadapi suni chena tarorapi amanina manadena. That one should want no respect for oneself and yet offer all respect to others. So he is free from the desire for prestige or respect or honor and offers all honor to others. He is expert in reviving. So why is that important? Because this desire for honor and prestige and to be adored and to be worshipped and to be respected all comes from the ego. But because he has conquered over the ego, I don't care about this stuff. You call him anything you like. Call him an idiot, call him a fool, call him it doesn't matter. It's like water off a duck's back. He is expert in inspiring God consciousness or Krishna consciousness in others and therefore never cheats anyone. Rather, he is the well-wishing friend to all, being most merciful. Such a saintly person must be considered the most learned of men and women too. I please want to make that very clear. While it's using the pronoun he, this is equally true for women. There have been absolutely women saints and they have had all these qualities as well. But we'll just stick to one pronoun, not trying to be in any way sexist about that. He perfectly understands that the ordinary religious duties prescribed by me in various Vedic scriptures possess favorable qualities that purify the performer, and he knows that neglect of such duties constitutes a discrepancy in one's life. So Vedic rituals and practices are meant for purification, but that purification must lead to taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. So having taken complete shelter at my lotus feet, however, a saintly person ultimately renounces such ordinary religious duties and worships me alone. He is thus considered to be the best among all living entities. Isn't that amazing? My devotees may or may not know exactly what I am, who I am, and how I exist. But if they worship me with unalloyed love, then I consider them to be the best of devotees. So what is that criteria? Unalloyed love. What does that mean? An alloy is when you take a metal, let's say you have gold, and you mix with it brass. Right? So 14 karat gold is mixed. I think it's 50%, but I'm not sure of the exact percentages. So it's gold and brass or copper or some other metal is mixed up with gold. So now that's an alloy. Unalloyed means pure. Like 24 karat is pure gold. So when you have unalloyed love, love that has got no other agenda, no other motive, ask yourself, when you love someone, is there an agenda? Is there a motive? Did you choose that person because of some reason? Then that there is a motive. Did you want something out of that person, which if they took it away, then you would no longer love them? In almost all cases, that is true. Your partner cheated on you, if your partner disrespected you, if your partner was indifferent to you, if your partner went away for a long period of time, you may no longer want to love them or be in relationship with them, right? So that love has certain conditions. And if those conditions are not met, if those needs are not fulfilled, then that love is abandoned. But unalloyed love means that no matter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that even if you treat me badly, even if you abandon me, even if you disrespect me, I will continue loving you regardless. That is unalloyed love. My dear Uddhava, Krishna says, one can give up the false pride and prestige by engaging in the following devotional activities. One may purify oneself by seeing, touching, worshipping, serving, and offering prayers of glorification and obeisances to my form as the deity and to my devotees. Right? So that when you offer glorification and respect to Krishna's form as the deity or to his pure devotees, then what happens? One becomes purified. One should also glorify my transcendental qualities and activities, which are all mentioned in the Bhagavatam, which is what we've been reading, or the Bhagavad Gita. So one should also glorify my transcendental qualities and activities, and hear with love and faith the narrations of my glories and constantly meditate on me. One should offer to me whatever one acquires, whatever possessions you have, whatever you acquire, and accepting oneself as my eternal servant, one should give oneself completely to me. Jiver Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that we are all eternal servants of Krishna. Right? So here again in the Bhagavatam that is being said, whatever one acquires and accepting oneself as my eternal servant, one should give oneself completely to me. One should always discuss my birth and activities and enjoy life by participating in festivals such as Janmashtami, which is coming up in a few days now. We have Janmashtami coming up. I think it's the 16th of August this year. Also, we have Balaram's appearance day coming up and Radha's appearance day. It's a big month of festivals. So enjoy life by participating in festivals such as Janmashtami, which glorify my pastimes. In my temple, one should also participate in festivals and ceremonies by singing and dancing and playing musical instruments, as you see with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. Right? So singing, dancing, playing musical instruments, these are all the activities of devotees. And discussing me, Krishna says, with other devotees as well. One should observe all the regularly celebrated annual festivals by attending ceremonies, pilgrimages, and making offerings. One should also observe religious vows such as Ekadashi and take initiation by the procedures mentioned in the Vedas, such as the Pancharatra Vidhi and other similar literatures. So it's taking initiation from a guru. One should faithfully and lovingly support the installation of my deity in the temple, and individually or in cooperation with others, one should work for the construction of Krishna-conscious temples. You'll see some lovely temples that are being constructed even as we speak. And cities, as well as flower gardens, fruit gardens, special areas to celebrate my pastimes. One should consider oneself to be my humble servant without duplicity, and should thus help to clean the temple, which is my home. First, one should sweep and dust thoroughly, and then one should further cleanse with water and even cow dung. Having dried the temple, one should sprinkle scented water and decorate the temple with mandalas. One should thus act just like my servant. A devotee should never advertise his devotional activities. So never, oh, I did this and I did that. No. Keep it on the down low. Right? Why is he saying act like my servant? Because we all want to be the master. But even if you are a king, and even if you are the president, and even if you are the richest person on earth, be his servant, because that he is the supreme master, the supreme controller, the Ishvara, Paramishwar, the supreme controller of everything. In front of him, we are all small, insignificant beings. We are servants. He is the master. A devotee should never advertise his devotional activities. Very important. And therefore, his service will not be cause of false pride. So if you go around talking about, oh, I did this and I did that for Krishna, that will become the cause of false pride. and it will take you away from devotional service. It will take away the devotional mood. One should never use lamps that are offered to me for other purposes. Right? When you offer ghee lamps to Krishna, you should not use them for other purposes simply because there is need of illumination. And similarly, one should never offer to me anything that has been offered or used by others. So when you offer something to Krishna, it should never have been offered to anyone else or used by anyone else. It should be fresh. So if you're offering him food, it should be before you eat the food, before you serve it to anybody else, you first offer it to him. Whatever is most desired by one within the material world and whatever is most dear to oneself, one should offer that very thing to me. Such an offering qualifies one for eternal life. So it doesn't mean that he's going to take it away from you. You buy a car, you can offer that car to him. You buy a house, this is your house, Krishna. You will still live in it. You will still enjoy it. But now it will be his house and you will be enjoying it with him. That's the only difference. O saintly Uddhava, is telling his friend, please know that you may worship me in the sun, fire, Brahmins, cows, Vaishnavas, sun, wind, sky, water, earth, individual soul, and all living entities. So he says, he's pointing out all the different elements as well as all the living entities. You can worship me through them. One should worship me within the sun by chanting selected Vedic mantras and by performing worship and offering obeisances. One should worship me within fire by offering oblations of ghee, and one may worship me among the Brahmins by respectfully receiving them as guests, even when uninvited. I can be worshipped within the cows by offerings of grass and other suitable grains and paraphernalia for the pleasure and health of the cows. And one may worship me within the Vaishnavas by offering friendship to them, or the devotees by offering friendship, loving friendship to them and honoring them in all respects. Through steady meditation, I am worshipped within the inner space of the heart, and within the life air, I can be worshipped by knowledge that pran, that life air, is the chief among elements. I am worshipped within water by offerings of water itself, along with other elements such as flowers and tulsi leaves. One may worship me within the earth by proper application of confidential seed mantras. One may worship me within the individual living entity by offering food and other enjoyable substances. And one may worship me within all living entities by seeing the Paramatma, the Super Soul, within all of them, and thus maintaining equal vision. Thus, in the previously mentioned places of worship and according to the processes I have described, one should meditate on my peaceful, transcendental form with 4 arms, holding a conch shell and Sudarshan disc, club, and lotus flower. In this way, one should worship me with fixed attention. One who has executed sacrificial performances and pious works for my satisfaction and who thus worships me with fixed attention obtains unflinching devotional service unto me. By the excellent qualities of his service, such a worshipper obtains realized knowledge of me. So this is what he's saying, is by performing all of this, you will begin to have realization, realized knowledge, very different from just bookish knowledge. Bookish knowledge is not enough. That's not realized. Realized is now, oh, it's like, okay, let's give you an example. I've heard about Paris. I've read about it. I've seen it on the map. But it's a whole different experience when I actually go to Paris or I go to Tibet or I go to some place. Then I see it for myself and I experience it for myself. He says, I am personally the ultimate shelter and way of life for saintly liberated persons. Reminds me of a statement in the Bible, I am the truth, the way, and the life. I am personally the ultimate shelter and way of life for saintly liberated persons. And thus, if one does not engage in my loving devotional service, which is made possible by associating with my devotees, then for all practical purposes, one possesses no effective means for escaping from material existence. My dear Uddhava, O beloved son of the Yadu dynasty, because you are my servant, well-wisher, and friend, I shall now speak to you the most confidential knowledge. Please hear as I explain these great mysteries to you. So that'll be continued next time we meet. Until then, I wish you a wonderful night. I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 p.m. Pacific. Please write your comments, ask any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Hare Krishna.